Okay, so what I'm going to be showing you this week is some division strategies that we use in 5th grade. We're not focusing a lot on division this week. This week we're kind of reviewing a bunch of stuff we've learned. Like today we're doing an art lesson involving quadrilaterals and triangles. And on Wednesday we're doing our big food lesson involving fractions. But I thought this week to show the parents would be a good time to show you guys the division models. We use this in 5th grade because I know there's some confusion about how the models and strategies work. So for our problem that we're going to be focusing on is we're going to do 4,958 divided by 24. So the first model I'm going to show you is called the area model. And what you do is you think of finding the division as trying to find the area of it. So we create a rectangle. Okay, and the dimensions of the rectangle are 24 because we're dividing by 24, so the length of this side is 24. So we're trying to figure out the length of this side if our area inside of the rectangle would be 4,958. So what I have the students do is I have them write 4,958 off to the side, and then they think about what can I multiply 24 by that would get me close to 4,958. So a lot of students will realize that if they multiply 24 by 200, that's going to get them to 4,800, which is pretty close. So we would then subtract over here to see how much we have left. So we would have 158 left. So they come over here and they would write their 4,800 inside. So that's how much of the area we found. And we still have 158 left of the area. Okay, and then some students, they would try to do 24 times 10. 24 times 10 would be too large. That would be 240. So then I usually tell them to try 5 because 5 is another friendly number to work with. And if they didn't know 24 times 5, they could always come off to the side and do 24 times 5. And that would get them to 120. Okay, so they would do, so 120 is less than 158, so we could use that. So 24 times 5 would get them to 120. So they would subtract their 120 from their area. And now they're left with 38. So 24 times 1 is going to get them to 24. And they'll subtract that, so that leaves us with 14. So 14 is less than our dimension of 24. So we know that 14 then is going to be our remainder. To find our answer, we're adding up the dimension of this side. So we have 200 plus 5 plus 1, which equals 206, with a remainder of 14. So that's called the area model for division. Another model we use is called partial quotients. And I'm going to show you two different models that you can use to represent partial quotients. So the first one, which you've probably seen some of your students doing at home, is setting up kind of like how it looks like when we do long division, which they'll be learning long division in 6th grade. So this model is getting them prepared to understand the way long division works. So again, we're using our multiplication facts to help us. So I'm going to use the same facts that we did up top so you can see how the two methods relate to each other. So we could do 24 times 200. So that gets us to our 4,800. We're going to subtract it, so we have our 5, so we're left with 158 again. So I'm going to do 24 times 5, and that's going to get us to 120. So I'm going to subtract that, and that leaves us with our 38. So then I'm going to do 24 times 1, subtract that, and that leaves us with our 14. And again, 14 is less than 24, so I know this is going to be my remainder. And I'm adding up the numbers that I multiplied 24 by. So 200 plus 5 plus 1 is 206, with my remainder of 14. Okay? Another way that we can represent a partial quotients problem is again, similar to how we would do long division. So we would set it up the same way again, which I'm going to do it off to the side here so I have a little bit more room. So we'll have 24, and then we have our 4,958. So again, we're setting it up the same way. This time I'm going to use, instead of recording my numbers off to the side, I'm going to record it above. So I'm going to do 24 times 200 gets me to my 4,800 again. But I'm going to write my 200 up above instead of off to the side this time. So that gets me to my 158. So 24 times 5 gets me to 120. Again, instead of writing off to the side, I'm going to write my 5 up here. That gets me to my 38. And then I'm going to do 24 times 1. So I'm going to write my 1 up here this time instead of off to the side. And I'm left with, again, with my 14. So my 14 is going to be my remainder. And this time I'm adding them this way. So I have 200 plus 5 plus 1, which will get me to 206 with my remainder of 14. So again, in 5th grade, our strategies that we use, we're stressing multiplication facts to help them. They're using their multiplication to help them with their division, which is going to lead into them then learning the standard algorithm of long division like we learned in school when they're in 6th grade.